Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Harrison Talks Pod, episode 45. I hope you're having a great day and I hope you're having a great basketball week. Although it's a new week, and I'm here to talk to you about some recent basketball. Uh, it is a Sunday evening here in not sunny right now, Thailand, which means it's a Monday morning back home in America, and we are just hours after the two semifinal NBA Cup games, starting with the Knicks versus the Magic, and then leading into the Spurs versus the Thunder in Las Vegas. Two games where I had completely forgot if it counted towards the regular season. I was like, is it just the finals that doesn't count? I was pretty sure that was the case. It's just the finals. This one counted, so the Thunder do get a loss. That is a part of that. Although I guess they would still be on pace for maybe 74 wins. I don't know. But we'll get to that. And the Knicks also move on as well. And before we get into that, I'll say, why start the game at, what was it, 4:30 their local time? Was it that? Because it was like 5:30 where I live, and it was 5:30 in the morning where I live. So kind of missed the first part of it. Had to catch up on it later. But anyways, I'm yapping about things I'm just gonna yap about as soon as I transition. Harrison Talks Pod is a part of Side Panel Network, Nintendo Therapy. We have episodes coming out every week. We have a bonus episode coming out sometime in the next few days, whenever the other person gets back in town and uploads it. It's done. And then other than that, Harrison Plays Games, my gaming channel, my Let's Plays, been doing daily uploads there. That's a lot of fun. And it's all connected. Links in the bio, links in the description for everything else, including those things. Always, let's get into it to talk about some NBA basketball. Overall feeling NBA Cup this season feels like past seasons. It feels like there is maybe more continuity as it goes along. Seems like there was a good reception to it with how many people came out to the game, but it's a few days in Vegas. Scheduling wise, I mentioned not too sure about how early the game has to start, but I guess you do have to do it in one day, or you want to do it in one day. Do you really have to, though? Would be my question. Because it does kind of feel weird that it was on well, it being on a Saturday night makes sense, but then the finals on a Tuesday? Right. It feels a little bit odd. But I guess you could maybe do it like a Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, perhaps? One team would get one day less rest. I don't know, but there might be something there. Let's move ahead. Knicks and Magic were the first one. We had two very competitive games. Second game, I think, might have been one of the most competitive we've had this season. Knicks won 132 to 120. And this game, along with the other game, felt kind of like that playoff energy. Jaylen Brunson ended with 40 points, 6 of 17 from the field, 8 assists, and only 2 turnovers while having a 35% usage rate. His true shooting percentage was right around 65%, and he scored and assisted on over 55% of all of the Knicks' points. So Jaylen Brunson dictated a lot of things early on and throughout the game, and we saw some different lead changes throughout the game as well. 11 total, I believe. 10 or 11 total. One more thing about Brunson as well is that 81% of his field goals tonight came unassisted. So, along with having the high usage and along with dictating a lot of the offense and having 8 assists as well, a lot of his own points came unassisted. 81% of 40, whatever that is. So, a bit of chaos early on. A lot of the lead changes came within that first quarter to early second quarter, and I don't think anyone had a lead of more than 5 points early on. Possessions were a bit shorter early on, a bit more physical, a bit more rushed, and it's kind of fun with the NBA Cup that you only get that one game. It's not a whole series where you can develop over a series or have a bad game. You have one bad game, that's it. So there were some early fouls. There's some early charges. It was, as I said, it was very physical, coming right out the gate, and that was kind of all expected. 3 point shooting uh, wasn't where I'm sure both teams wanted to be, and a lot of scoring early on came from paint touches or floaters or from the short mid range. Orlando clearly wanted to play with pace. They wanted to play ahead of the Knicks defense. We saw Jalen Suggs playing downhill a lot, and that contributed a lot to that early chaotic pace that both teams were playing in. As we got somewhere into the second quarter, the game started to slow down as both teams got into their bench. The Knicks' bench minutes seemed to stabilize their floor a little bit, and that's when we started to see some longer leads during the second quarter. Players like Tyler Kolek, Mitchell Robinson contributed to that. Mitchell Robinson, offensive rebounds, offered a lob threat, and was a clear rim deterrent on the other end of the floor. And with that, the Knicks had multiple leads in the second quarter, somewhere in that 5 to 7 point lead. So, still, we had some lead changes heading into the end of the game, but after somewhere in the third quarter, correct? Or was it fourth quarter? Late third quarter, and then when did the Knicks tie the game? Late third quarter run. Excuse me, I'm looking at my notes again. Again, it was too early, and I was trying to catch up. All right, but it was a tie game, late third quarter, and then the Knicks went on a run, 10-0 to make it a 102-92 lead, or they went on a run and it was a 10-point lead after that. And a lot of those points were made between Jaylen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns with their two-man game. That tightened up a little bit as the game went on. Orlando had increased turnovers as the game went on. They finished with 14 overall, and the Knicks' decisions just sped up. So their decision making got better as the game went on. Uh, Veteran response to pressure was great, and they had their clear, that's enough, and then they closed out the game in the stretch. Third quarter leading into the fourth quarter. Karl-Anthony Towns, 29 points, was 9 of 11 from the field, including 9 of 10 from the free throw line. Wow. So true shooting percentage was at 94.2%. Wow. And no turnovers that entire game. So, wow. Speaking of efficiency and speaking of helping out Jaylen Brunson, yeah. OG Anunoby, 24 points, 3 of 4 from 3, and was plus 14 in the plus minus. He ended with 3 steals as well. Not only guarded Paul Banchero very well, but was able to disrupt passing lanes and generate some great defense to offense, as we always say. Knicks overall shot 60% from the field, uh, compared to the Magic shooting 46% from the field. And the Knicks' effective field goal percentage was at 65%. So just a great shooting night, led by their two biggest players. So it was a sustainable offensive win from the Knicks. And if you're a Knicks fan, it should get you excited that you saw it on a big national stage like this. So, rest of the league, take notice. There's going to be a lot of take notice parts of this episode today. Jalen Suggs, on the other end, had 26 points, 25 of the 26 in the first half. So just one second half. Might have had a hip issue that he was dealing with. At halftime, it was Jaylen Brunson and Jalen Suggs at 25 points apiece. Speaking of 25 points, Paul Banchero, that's what he ended with. And he was 0 of 7 from 3, had 5 turnovers at a 33% usage rate. So, had a heavy load as usual. Not sure if his usage, if that's higher than lower than what he's averaging this season, but did not offer as much stability that the Orlando would have needed for this semifinal game. Knicks executed, Magic chased most of the game, and Knicks dictated their pace better, and they attacked their mismatches better, which resulted in their win. So, better shooting, better maybe play calling, and trusting their offense a little bit more all led to this win. And they're heading off to the finals to maybe win 500,000, and they got 50,000 extra for winning, right? Quite a lot. Knicks have also won 5 straight, 9 of their last 10. They go to the Cup final for the first time, and this, if you're not an NBA Cup person, then consider it just as a rehearsal for the actual playoffs. Because with how the Knicks are and where the East is, the expectations for the Knicks should be at the very top. And we said it in the preseason. We're going to say it now. They should be shooting for the NBA Finals. Anything less than that, I don't think they should be happy about it. But, uh, yeah, we'll leave it there. More command than dominance, I would say, from the Knicks over the Magic this game, and just a very fun game overall. But now let's get into what I think could be the most competitive, or at least one of the most competitive games of the season so far. So, this next game, the storylines write themselves, correct? One end, you have the Thunder, who we're just going to talk about a lot this season. I love talking about the Thunder. I've always talked about them a lot. But them entering 24 and 1 is this historic start to their franchise and then just to the league in general. And they are, I'm sure, according to a lot of stats or play stat books, wherever you get their stats, I'm sure they are favored for maybe every game that they play the rest of the season. And they were certainly favored today. On the other end, the Spurs have been playing great without Wembanyama, and they get Wembanyama back for this semifinal game. But not only does he comes back off the bench on a minutes restriction, and we'll get into that a little bit too. So the stage was set and the storylines wrote themselves. I think the league should have been thrilled about this matchup, even though these are two smaller market teams with heavy superstars now, correct? So Spurs won, of course, and it was a close competitive game. There were so many exciting plays. There were, of course, the Wimby plays that always stand out. There are two in my mind, I'll just say right now. There's one that he hit in transition, fading away on the right side, and it went in. and it was just really quick, his decision making. And then there was one where it was a baseline out of bounds play where it looked like he just stood there and just slammed it in, but it looked like he almost didn't even need to jump. He like almost made it in with his head. It just sometimes it looks weird when you're watching it on TV. I'm sure if you're watching it in real life, it's even more crazy than that. But anyways, what I should just say is that it was a very exciting performance for a lot of young players today. So that was great. Came off the bench, and Wimby was 22 points, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks, 21 minutes. He was a plus 21. I think in those first 7 minutes in the first half, he was a plus 22, I believe, because he only had 7 minutes in the first half. 127 offensive rating, okay. 83 defensive rating for this guy. So not only is he young, not only is he coming off an injury, and we had that long, we'll call it injury to end last season. I want to get into why I think he might be not only at 21 or 22 years old, the best defensive player in the league, but it might not even be close at this point. Net rating plus 44 in 21 minutes, just absolutely ridiculous. And the Spurs won this game without volume scoring. Right. Like gravity, deterrence, leverage. These are all just things that Wembanyama brought back to this team that has been playing very well without him, as we mentioned. So, opening quarter, similar to the other game, physical, a little bit sloppy, a little bit, well, a little bit low rhythm. So perhaps the pace was a little bit different on this one. And they were missing their shots on both ends. A lot of paint attempts, a lot of short pull-ups, a lot of fouls and turnovers early on this game. So yeah, I think both of them kind of had this like early playoff feel where um, teams are trying to adjust very, very quickly in this one-off game and trying to figure out how to get into their half court in the best way. But OKC tried to attack early before the Spurs could get set. That should have been expected. OKC looked strong in transition early on. That should be expected. And the Thunder accumulated points early on. So we don't see Wembanyama the first quarter. Wasn't sure when he was going to be playing. We see him 7 minutes in the second quarter. So that's an immediate deterrence for the Spurs. The Thunder had less drives in the second quarter, probably mostly because of that. And of course, he just offers more vertical spacing. What else did we see in the second quarter? With Wembanyama on the floor, initially we did not even see the offense run through him all the time. A lot of times it was running through players like Dylan Harper. And then when Wembanyama exited in the second quarter, the Thunder went on another run. So that's how it should have been expected that first half. Wasn't sure when exactly we would see Wembanyama in this game. And I was surprised that we only saw him 7 minutes in the first half. But their game plan works, so they know better than I do. Four Spurs scored 22 or more points, including Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, Steph Castle, and just overall, just very balanced scoring from the team that now that Wembanyama's back, if he can do this and the Spurs were winning without him, I just think the rotations are going to be very strong and is going to offer very strong depth, especially on the defensive end against a lot of these teams in the West. Ceiling should be very high for this team. Actually, I'm not quite there yet. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. And for the Spurs, yeah, a shot creation came from more than just those players. It came from a whole team effort overall. The Spurs generated the offense when the Thunder's structure broke, and the Thunder leaned into SGA more in the late game. So Spurs were able to pull away at the end. Very competitive, very fun to watch. A little bit messy in the final 6 minutes of the game. Spurs recovered a little bit quicker after their mistakes, and I think the Spurs were a little bit better at attacking their mismatches. As I mentioned, Thunder relied a little bit, maybe too much on Shea down the stretch, and I think the Thunder also just settled with some of the shots that they were taking. And it was decided by rim pressure and free throws. So just a really fun game to watch overall. So what does it mean going forward? Uh, so 26 games, 67, 78, and so I guess the Thunder would still be on pace to win more than 74 games, I think. Or no, that'd be eight. I don't know. It would be somewhere around there. I think they're right, maybe on pace to do it. But certainly could win 70 games this season. And their first loss came on a back-to-back where they were up 20, and this game came in a very, very competitive matchup where I think the better game plan won overall. So for the Thunder, they had a 14 game win streak, so that gets broken. They go back home. Of course, they should feel bad about it because it was a high stakes situation. They don't get to move on. They don't get all the money that they could have gotten. But overall, I'm sure they just move on and then start a new win streak. And um, they still haven't had their top five on the court at the same time together. So there's a lot of positivity around the Thunder just overall. And we kind of talked about that more last week, just how significant and historic this team might be. On the other end, the Spurs. We should be talking about them more because they won and they head on. They will play the Knicks in the final round, and I have the Spurs winning over the Knicks. I think they can offer more pressure on defense, and I just think that both teams are playing really, really well right now. So, I think this is going to be a very close game. Not surprised if the Knicks win, but hey, I'm going with the Spurs. Leave me a comment and let me know because I guess we do have 2 days before this other game happens. So hopefully they have fun in Vegas. Hopefully everybody who won and lost has fun in Vegas this time of the year. And that's about it. And as I mentioned, I think the Spurs on a national stage will give notice to more teams and people watching around the league. And they could be a second place team. I'm going to just assume that the Thunder just win the West at this point. We will see. But the Spurs could be a solid second place team. Certainly out of the play-in should have a home court advantage, I think. Certainly playing like a top four team in the West right now. And one of the most fun surprises, I think, just wasn't expecting Steph Castle to be at this point in his second year. Wasn't expecting Dylan Harper to come in this good. And I think that they have a core group of players that you wouldn't mess with, even if you got a call from the Bucks. But I still wouldn't really mess with it. You can let me know about that one also. Anyways, I'm not quite done though. We talked about the games from a few hours ago last night, but I wanted to talk about two teams in the West that are currently sitting right in the play-in spots, ninth and 10th place. And I want to talk about why they have improved, I think, over these past couple of weeks, and why I think both of these teams are too good to try and tank this season, yet are they good enough to try and compete in this powerhouse Western Conference? You might, well, I said ninth and 10th place, so you might have figured it out. Let's go. First, we'll talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. So a trend we do see early on this season, isn't it? That, well, I guess we just do have a lot of injured players. But for some injured players and their teams, the team has been winning without their top player. And sometimes it's a different look and maybe even a bit of a different identity for that team when that other big player is out. Memphis Grizzlies, anyways, they are 7-3 in their last 10, so they have improved a lot since the beginning of the season, and they did not have any back-to-back losses in those 10 games. They had multiple wins after poor shooting nights. They were 4-1 on the road during this 10-game stretch, and they were a plus 2.7 in their net rating in those 5 games. Overall, their net rating went from 2, -2 to begin their season before these 10 games to a plus 7.1 in these last 10 games. So even better at home. Um, a whole tier shift, I guess I would say. Negative to positive in their net rating. In that same span, in 10 games, they are plus 4.4 points per game. Their shooting has improved 3.3%, including their effective field goal percentage. Shooting percentage is up. And in the last 10 games, their assist percentage is at 70%, which is third in the NBA in that same time span. So they got Ja Morant back in their last game. And of course, the big news from Memphis has been Zach Edey. And just overall, there have been a lot of players, especially young players on this team, who have been playing well, and they've been playing a very fun, inside out, team friendly brand of basketball. They are averaging 54 points in the paint per game in those 10 games, and they're relying less just on their threes recently. Defensively, has improved from 113.8 to 110, but in their wins this season, their defensive rating is at 103.3. So when they win the games, they play really good defense. In their last 10, they are averaging 49.6 rebounds per game. That is, I don't know where that ranks, but it's very, very high, I'm sure. Offensive rebound percentage is at 33%, which is really, really good. And their rebounding on the road is even better than it has been at home. In this last game, Ja Morant had 21 points and 10 assists. Did not shoot the ball that well, 35%, and had a very high usage rate. As expected, looked like Ja, just did not look like peak Ja Morant expected for that first game back. But let's see how the Grizzlies adjust around him. And, well, we're getting this episode will come out on the 15th, I guess. No, it'll come out the 14th. So we're getting very close to the 15th. We'll see if there's any kind of movement with any of these teams with trades this month or in January. I guess some players get cleared by then as well. For the Grizzlies, they ended with 32 assists. They had some very clean ball movement. They shot 46% overall from three, so they shot the ball very well this game. And they did end up losing the game. What was the final score? Did I mention it? No, I didn't. They lost 130 to 126 to the Utah Jazz. So they did lose, but it wasn't about Ja. It was more about their rebounding. It was more about not having the right rim deterrence and not having a final stop defender. So the issues didn't start with Ja, didn't end with Ja. Did Ja contribute more to the loss? Yeah, well, I don't know. But I wouldn't put that loss on his return. But we'll be watching the Grizzlies very closely because I want to see how he gets used. The Grizzlies, of course, were looking very, very solid without John Morant. And do they make shifts in their offense and maybe see a lesser usage from their top player? We'll see. So overall, wouldn't put that loss on John Morant. I think it came down to more about defensive rebounding, not having a final stop defender, not having the best rim deterrence, and I believe Zach Edey will be out at least 4 weeks. And he's been the big talk of the season. Just improved on all offensive parts of the ball and defense as well. Usage has shot up a bit from 16 to 20%. Points per game was at 9.2 in year one to 13.6 currently in year two. True shooting percentages up, around offensive rebounds per game, is averaging a higher block rate this season. So yes, overall on both ends, has looked much better and playing more efficient on offense. So unfortunately, yes, if he was playing in the last game, they could have maybe won. But now it's looking like he will be out for at least 4 weeks with an injury now. We know that John Morant makes or creates shots, creates pressure, creates chaos, and Zach Edey on the other end creates more structure for the Memphis Grizzlies and maybe more possession control along with that structure. Without Zach Edey, they'll struggle with their screening, they'll struggle with their rebounding, and some of their late game defense as well, which we saw all in that last game against the Jazz, who, well, the Jazz aren't the best defenders, but I think they're really, really fun to watch sometimes. So we'll see how they do with Ja and without Zach Edey, and we'll see if this team does make any kind of moves at all, because I really just don't know what this team is intending to do at this point. For the Grizzlies, the best lineups for them are movement heavy, are skill based, are where you can make multiple decisions on offense. Ja's value is highest when he has a competent team around him, but I guess that you can kind of say that about anybody, I guess. So we'll see what happens with this timeline. We'll see if Ja remains healthy while Zach Edey is out, and just what the Grizzlies do overall. They sit at ninth place right now. They don't need a complete teardown and a complete rebuild. And if anything, there's a lot of positivity to go around if you are thinking about moving off of your star player, which I've talked about in these past couple of episodes, so I don't need to, rehash too much of it already. It could be a much worse spot to be in right now. You have some young players that you can build around, including players like Cedric Coward, which I really like. Um, it might just be the time to move on because at ninth place, I think they are really competitive sometimes and too good to tank. Yet, if they are in the play in once again, I just don't know how far they would make it in the playoffs with any formation of this team currently. So I think that's where I want to leave it. But 7-3 in the last 10 certainly have moved up in my league pass rankings. Certainly have been paying attention to them more in the past couple of weeks. So, of course, then right below that in 10th place is the Dallas Mavericks. And a bit of a different situation there. Let's talk about them next. So we'll just use this as a excuse to talk about positivity today. It's a holiday season, why not? Dallas Mavericks have won 5 of their last 6 after having one of their worst starts in, well, a very long time as a franchise. They've had some really bad starts in the past. They have. And their only loss in those 6 games came from the Oklahoma City Thunder. They now sit in 10th place. Their situation is much different than Memphis, although they also might be a team looking at trades. We'll see. But what is similar is what I just said, that I think they're too good to tank and just not good enough to compete in this Western Conference. I kind of assumed when they started, was it 5-15 and 16, kind of assumed that they would just be out of it because usually in those first 20 games, if you're sitting that low, that can be where you stay that entire season. I mean, what they're on pace for 20 wins at some point. So it has certainly picked up, and there's positivity in the post Nico Harrison era. If you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, you got to take it where you get it. And it's not just that. It's also Cooper Flagg. It's also Anthony Davis playing good when he's healthy. And we'll see what his future is. And there's other young players that I like on this team. And there's other players that are stepping up. All, of course, without Kyrie Irving. You know, you kind of wait until you get him back. If he was in playing this entire season healthy, perhaps this team, I'm sure they have at least a few more wins. You know, perhaps we're looking at the Mavericks sitting in the middle of the West, out of the play-in, right where I would expect them to be. I forget where I ranked them before the season started, but I think I ranked them in the play-in. But um, we'll see. I think this might be where they end up. You know, somewhere in this 8, 9, 10 range. But this is already higher than what I would have thought in these past couple of weeks. So, for the season, they are a minus 3.4 in the net rating. In the last 6 games, they are positive 4.4 in their net rating. And the last 6, their offensive rating shot up to a 119. Their field goal percentage improves to 51%. They're shooting 40% from 3 in the last 6 games. And assist to turnover ratio have both increased in that same time as well. Cooper Flagg, last 6 games, 23 points, 56% from the field, 62% true shooting percentage on 33 minutes per game, and has had some very big moments against, like players like Giannis, and has just also had some good moments on defense as well. Has offered, of course, more downhill pressure for the Dallas Mavericks as expected. He seems less rushed and certainly would play better if he had a point guard around him. Same thing we've been saying about him. But Cleaner Reads, just for an 18, 19-year-old player, very impressed with his overall IQ, just how smart of a basketball player he is. Cooper Flagg is also averaging 3.2 assists per game. So, that's an improvement, I think. And defensive collapses are happening earlier. Dallas's offense is making defenses collapse earlier, allowing their offense overall to just play faster. Anthony Davis has played 5 of the last 6 games, averaging 20.8 points, 12 rebounds, shooting 51% from the field in that stretch. Of course, offers rim deterrence, rebounding, short roll passing, and has a positive plus minus currently. So definitely offers some organization in his offense. And I think Anthony Davis is benefiting playing alongside someone like Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag seems to create a lot of attention and energy early on and can help shift coverages, which Anthony Davis just benefits from. Who else on the Mavericks can we talk about? Brandon Williams, averaging 10.2 points per game, 5 assists. His assist to turnover ratio is 5. Wow. And in that 6 game stretch, his net rating is a plus 16.9. Ryan Nimhard, seven assists per game, which is great. Big fan of the Nimhard family, so hope he gets converted. He's on a two-way still, right? Najee Marshall, 15.8 points per game on 66% percent from the field in that same 6 game stretch. Klay Thompson has improved in that 6 games, 14 points per game, and is 46% from 3 of those 6 games. Is that right? Wow, wow, okay. And then we have players like Max Christie, PJ Washington, who are all role enhancers for the Mavericks. And of course, they are still in 10th place after their win streak. Still, their defensive rating is 114.6. Teams are shooting very well against the Mavericks, but I still think that the Mavericks are better than like the true tank teams in the West. So, what do they do? I don't have a solution. That's where I'm going to end things today. Just saying, what do they do? I think. I don't think they can compete in the West. I didn't come into the season thinking they can compete in the West, but I don't think it's wise to try and do a whole rebuild, or if you trade Anthony Davis, oh, I just don't know. I just don't know. But the positive is, it's without Kyrie Irving. If you trade Anthony Davis, you still get something in return. And then you got Cooper Flag, and it looks like you really scored with getting Brandon Williams. So, yeah, at least for me, I've kind of enjoyed watching this team a little bit, at least these last couple of weeks. But we will see what they do, and maybe I feel like as I've been talking more, I've just been talking myself more into thinking about that we're going to see some trades before the deadline. And perhaps we need like Giannis or some big trade to kick things off, because then after that, maybe there's less teams that are holding on to pieces. But we'll see. That's for another episode. I'll leave it there. I hope you have a great week and basketball week, NBA week, all of that heading into this holiday season. I'll have one more episode at least before the holidays and Christmas come up. And yeah, that's it. Hope you have a great week. See you next time.